Hello there. It's my nose. I'm Scotty. You're not. It is time for the final uh, review for Pick 10 90s 2. We are talking about City Slickers from 1991, starring Billy Crystal, uh, blanking blank blank blank, Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, Bruno Kirby, Jack Palance, Helen Slater, David Paymer, the fat guy from the Adam Sandler movies, Mr. Mosby from the Sweet Life TV shows, and cows. And it tells the story of Mitch, who just recently turned 39 years old and feels like his life means nothing. So he and his friends go on this cattle drive from New Mexico all the way to Colorado to try to get get some fresh air, the cow pies, and just enjoy life and try to get a new lease on life. And yeah, that's all it is. This movie, this is another one of those. I've seen the second one more than I had the first one. They used to play the second one on TNT all the time. It's always the second one. It's always City Slickers 2. Legend of Curly's Gold. That's all it was. So I've seen the second one a million freaking times. It was always on TV. This one I've seen a couple times now. I think about 3, including this one. I think I don't know if I watched this when I bought the DVD or if I know I've watched it before though. But it's a bit of a slow start. Whereas the second one, I remember like really getting in there. Something is going on. Like you're aware of something going on. There's a story rolling. Here, like you want to get to the cattle drive stuff. You want to see these guys who are usually in the city go out there and start having the whole fish out of water stuff. And while there is some of that at first, it's not really a fish out of water story. But it takes about a half hour or so to get there because you start with Mitch. He works at this this radio station where he's supposed to be the one that approves the radio ads. We get a cameo from Jeffrey Tambor for no reason. He shows up here and gone. There's a couple cameos like that. There's that one, and then later there's another cameo during Mitch's birthday party. Mitch just turned 39 years old, and he's kind of questioning his life. You know, he's like, what have I done? I hate my job. I'm working here. I'm sitting here. He now has to, because he picked he picked a stupid, dumb pizza ad that his boss didn't like. So now he has to have approval. So now he has to run everything by Jeffrey Tambor before he does anything. So now he feels like he's got his, his, basically now his job is, he can hear these things, but he can't approve them until he runs it by. So he got all his authority taken away. And he's just starting to feel kind of low in his life. And his friends, his one friend, Ed, played by Bruno Kirby, only dates women that are younger than him. His current wife is younger than he is, and he's the one that must go out and do these things. Like it starts with them running with the bulls in Pamplona, which is very confusing. It's like Pamplona, Spain. I'm like, am I watching the right movie? Did I put this in the City Slickers on the in the menu on the menu? Starts off weird, I guess. Yeah, and then you have Phil, Mitch's best friend, who is in a loveless marriage. It's one of those marriages where he's married to this woman, and he works for her father, and he's in a job that he also hates, and he's in a loveless marriage. Apparently, he's got kids, but I don't think we ever see him. If we do, they weren't at the party. But Mitch goes to his son's school, and we get cameo number 2. Not the son. The son is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's throughout the film. He's at the beginning of this film and at the end. The other cameo in this is Danielle Harris, who was 14 at the time. Jake Gyllenhaal was 11, and according to Mitch's wife, there's supposed to be a class of 9-year-olds. I mean, Danielle Harris did always look young for her age. I mean, she's in her 40s and she looks like she could be in her mid 30s. You know, so there's that. But yeah. But we have Mitch's birthday party here, and this is where things just completely go out of control here. Where Mitch kind of airs his grievances a little bit, but then because this is where Ed comes up with the idea of going on this cattle drive, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. No." And everything comes crashing down for Phil because a fellow employee that works for the grocery store that he manages under his wife's father shows up. We get cameo number 3, Yeardley Smith, Lisa Simpson. Apparently, he's got her knocked up. Nothing against Yeardley Smith, but Phil must have been very lonely. She's one of those actresses where she was already old when I was going through puberty, so it's one of those things like with Glenn Close and Wendy Malick, where it was like they were never attracted to me, right? So it's kind of one of those things where like they were old enough to be my mother or my grandmother by the time I was old enough to go bing hello, you know what I mean? So those kind of older women never attracted me. I mean, I may have had a crush on Angela Lansbury, but I was 7. I didn't know any better. But she was a nice old lady. But again, she was one of those, she was always old to me. Okay, I never had a crush on Angela Lansbury, but you know what I mean. She was always old to me, Angela Lansbury. And, okay, Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins, I may have had a crush. She was younger when I saw her, whereas Angela Lansbury was already like 40, 50, and, in 1960, whatever that one came out. Julie Andrews was kind of hot. Stay off me. I was a kid. I grew up with Disney. I didn't have hot chicks to look at. Except for Beverly Hills Cop. That was an awakening. Anyway, how was I? So yeah, he slept with Yeardley Smith in his car apparently, and she's pregnant. Or she's not, because this goes freaking nowhere. He's like, she says that she took one of the pregnancy tests that they have at the store that he manages, and it came back blue, which means that she's pregnant, I guess. And then, like, when they get to the after they get to the cattle drive stuff, it's like the next day he's like, "Oh, I just talked to what's her name?" They're like, "Who?" The one I got pregnant, the one I had an affair with, yeah, she's not pregnant. So that goes nowhere. That's only there as a catalyst to kind of push him into getting away from his wife. And I feel like when you look at the 3 characters in this, you have, you look at some of the characters in this, the character arcs they go through. You have Ed, who's, always trying to push things, trying to go big. Kind of like Phil in The Hangover, where he just wants to go for everything, right? Right. Mitch, he's the husband, he's the happily married man. He's the one that's, that sort of thing. He has his job. He could be the, what's his name? The Doug of this, or it could be Alan, I guess, one of the problems. And then you have, of course, Phil is Stu. So, yeah. Where he's in a loveless marriage with the woman that doesn't love him. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations. It's very... I think the only thing really you could say is like The Hangover is that. It reminds me of that a lot. And so they go on this cattle drive, he and his wife, Mitch and his wife, they have a little bit of a talk afterwards. And she's like, you know what? I'm telling you, get out, go to that. Because, he's in this whole negative thing. So they go out there to do it. and they're introduced to Curly, played by Jack Palance, who is the whole head of this whole thing. And they also introduced to uh, the Shallowitzes, Ira and his brother, who are ice cream makers, but they don't look like them in the commercials because they want good-looking people and not them. David Paymer and the fat guy that's in Adam Sandler movies. He was in Big Daddy. He was a revolting blob in Billy Madison. Excuse me. He's been in some Adam Sandler stuff. So yeah, they're brothers and they do the thing. And then you have Phil Lewis, Mr. Mosby from the Sweet Life shows, as the son of this other African American guy. And then Helen Slater, Supergirl, shows up for she's a Bonnie. She's supposed to be there with a friend of hers, but the friend of her pulled out, and so she's basically there to end up with Phil, even though there's no suggestion at all until the very end where she's like, "Hey," he's like, you know, but yeah. And so, yeah, it's one of those, it starts out fish out of water stuff when they're there, and then they get used to doing it, and roping stuff. You got these two cattle hands that are troublemakers. These two cattle hands, what do you want to call them? They're troublemakers, and they try to, basically, they're like bullying Bonnie. So Mitch tries to step in, and Ed, being big, manly muscle man, wants to step in. He's like, no, let me do it. And so he's cracking jokes, he's having fun. And then when the guys don't, they just get worse. And like, okay, here we go. And then Curly shows up and just deals with them. So yeah, and he and Mitch got off on the wrong foot because Mitch starts saying some things about him. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, he's right behind me, isn't he? It's one of those things where he's like making fun of him. He's like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Because they're all like, he's right behind me, isn't he? And so he's right there. And so the cattle drive starts the next day, and they're going. And something happens where they mess up. Mitch messes up, and it gets all trouble. So Curly and Mitch go on their own while the others go ahead, I think. I don't know. I kind of missed this part. I was looking for stuff. I kind of got a gist of it. And so they're on their own. One of the cows, they kind of bond here, where he's playing a harmonica, and Curly's like, knock it off. And he does it anyway. He's like, And so they're singing a song, they're bonding. And then the next day, the cow gives birth to this calf, which Mitch names Norman. And then Curly has to shoot the cow because it's dying. He was in pain, so he had to euthanize it. And then eventually they all meet up again, and Curly dies. He just dies. Cardiac, whatever it was. It's one of those things, like, I don't think it would ever happen in real life, where they just sit there and they stop moving. You see that a lot in horror, in movies like that, where they're just And so without Curly, they're stuck with the two ranch hands, and then they find booze and get drunk and become assholes. And once again, the guys have to, deal with them without Curly this time. But it's Phil who brandishes a gun and threatens them, say, hey, go to bed and we'll deal with this in the morning. And this is where he breaks down. He vents all his frustrations, and he breaks down about his life and everything. And and then it's reported that they took off. We never see them again for the rest of the movie, so they're gone. So now it's up to them to get the cattle out. But it doesn't work out because they had to stop because some cattle fell. There's some horses fell. They had to bury two horses, and Cookie, who was the only other guy that can help them, is conscious and broken legs. So they had to carry him out. So the two African American guys carry him away to the Colorado ranch, and then Bonnie and the two Shallowitzes are like, you know what? We should go ahead. And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll get the cattle. No, we'll go without the cattle. And they're like, And Mitch agrees with them to go without the cattle, but it's Phil and Ed are like, no, we're going to take the cattle all the way. We're going to go. We're going to do it. And Mitch is like, you're not going to give me a deal. I'm not going to do it. You're always going to do stuff. I'm not going to do it. So he does it because they show him leaving his baseball cap, and he shows up wearing the cowboy stuff. And then, so they do it. And they come across a storm, and then a river, and then Norman falls on the river, so Mitch goes in after him, and he almost drowns. But Phil and Ed save him. Phil almost falls in too, but they save him. And then they get the cows back, and only to find out that, because the two African-American guys are like, you know what? I think my dad and I would like to go with the cows back to New Mexico. Like, oh, usually that would be okay, but we're going to sell these cows for meat. So they just basically, they just, graze them, go back and forth, but they need the money, so. So we then cut to the airport. Everyone's meeting up with their family again. We get Jake Gyllenhaal again. And I don't know who played the daughter, but, he hugs his kids and his wife, and it's revealed that, like I said, Phil and Bonnie are going to get together. Because when they were coming back, by the way, there's a couple of times where they reference stuff, like they're singing Rawhide at the beginning and at the end, when they're coming back with the cows, they're humming the Bonanza song. And and so then when they come in, they're all happy, and Bonnie's like, hey, and he's like, hey. So that was the nod, like they're going to be together, and then they get in the cab together. Ed says he's going to get his wife pregnant, and then Mitch's wife's like, if you want to quit your job, that's fine. He goes, no, I'm going to do my job. No, I'm going to keep my job, but I'm going to be good at it. I'm going to do a good job. And then reveals that he brought Norman with him, and he's going to take him home with him. He's like, I like this joke he does. She's like, you can't take him home with us. Well, this is just for a little while. And then we'll send him to a petting zoo so he can be with your mother. I like that joke. There's some good jokes in here. I can't remember all of them, but there's some good jokes in here. Comedy is pretty good, although there are serious moments, like the whole thing with the river and everything. It's a good movie. I'm gonna say pretty good. I felt pretty good after it was over. So yes, now we're ranking. I will do the ranking after this, but this is pretty good. So what are your thoughts? I was about the ending. So what are your thoughts on City Slickers? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to take a few days to myself. I got stuff this weekend, hopefully. And then Monday, so WrestleMania is this weekend. But once again, I'm not going to be home like last year because it's fate. I've 2 years in a row now, I haven't been home to watch WrestleMania. Because they insist on doing it. I hope next year, WrestleMania 40, they just go back to one night. Triple H wants to lower the, they basically could just do one night. Get rid of the nonsensical fatal four-way tag matches we don't need. Right? And there's that. I think they could just do the rest on that night, on Sunday. Although it would be one long night, but what else don't we need? You know what I mean? I know I'm trying to get every star on there, but sometimes you just can't. 2-night stuff. It was fine when the pandemic was going on because you needed it. And, but now it's done. It's done. We did 2-night stuff. It was fun. It was. Then again, if it was one night, it would probably be on a Saturday, and I still wouldn't be able to watch it. Because now they pushed everything to Saturdays instead of Sundays. So I couldn't win either way, I guess. But at least I'll be able to watch it the next day. Whereas it's 2 nights. I don't have time. I get home at 4:30, 4:45, right? Because we got to take my son all the way. It's basically a 3-hour trip both ways. Because he doesn't live in town. His mom for some reason doesn't want to live in town, wants to make my mom drive. I'm ranting. I know I am. I am ranting. I know. But, so it's an hour and a half there, hour and a half back, that's 3 hours. Maybe, no. No, I didn't know, 3 hour drive. What was I thinking? It's an hour drive. Because a half hour there, half hour back, it's an hour drive. That's what it was. It's a half hour there, half hour back, it's an hour drive. So by the time I get back, it's 4:30, 4:45, quarter to 5, 4:30, quarter to 5. And so I'm going to be able to watch day one. I might have a chance to watch it if I put it on my phone while my son and I are watching something else on Sunday. Maybe if I want to try to put my focus, but it's not fair to him. Last year I was only able to watch day 2, which is the important stuff, but they're not going to put the important stuff. I'm ranting. It's supposed to be about City Slickers, but I'm done with the review. So WrestleMania, probably not going to do nothing because I realized I didn't do it last year either. And honestly, I just kind of want to move on to other stuff. Monday, I hope Monday, I'll be able to do... No, I can't do anything else because I'm watching WrestleMania tonight too. Monday, hopefully I can start Sequelathon 2. You see, I had the playlist. I had a playlist for To Be Horror Weekend 5, and I never did it. I changed my mind, and I just changed that to Sequelathon 2. But I'm going to do Sequelathon 2. That's coming. And something's going to happen in May, too, but it's not official yet. I'm going to do a video outlining stuff I want to do, but... Yeah, so... Yeah, City Slickers. What do you think about it? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.